Well, bon dia from me, Carl Munson, on this, the Resident podcast. Something a little bit different today. We're broadcasting live. We do two, just in case you don't know, we do two podcasts a week at the Resident. We have the big interview, and I do urge you to listen to this week's Charles Roberts I spoke to on Monday, and it was published on Tuesday. Fascinating stories. My goodness, he arrived in Albufeira when it was very different to how it is today, and ended up in Cascais. And I spoke to him about his amazing time here in Portugal, his great love of the country, and the wonderful things that he's been up to, mainly in real estate here. And he's seen things change so much. Great conversation with him. That is now available on the Portugal Resident YouTube channel. And of course, the weekly news review with the Don, Natasha Donn, will be joining me on the screen in just a moment. So if you have any questions or you want to respond to anything, you can do that today. We are broadcasting live on a number of channels that are related to Portugal, of course, notably on the Resident channel. Please subscribe to the Resident YouTube channel. And if you have any questions, please put them into the chat today. Or if there's anything you think Natasha Donn should take a look at in the weekly news review that is normally published on a Friday afternoon, pop those into the chat or one of the comments on the YouTube channel. So without further ado, let's bring her onto the screen and wish her a bon dia. Bon dia to you, Natasha Donn.
Hello, hello. I thought I'd lost you after the cat stepped on the keyboard, but there you are.
The cats must be sending memos around the cativerse. Last night I was hosting a webinar, and one of my cats, or one of the family's cats, I don't claim to own them myself, stood on a cable and cut me off. So there must be something going on. There's some cat action going on around the world, isn't there? Where they're, well, I mean, normally they're quite mischievous, but they've maybe up their game, disrupting the human world. How are you this week?
I'm good. I'm great. Everything's fine. Wet.
Right. Yes, there is that. Now, we have 3 storm-related matters to discuss today. We'll be here for about 30 minutes. That's the usual format for Natasha Donn's news review. 3 news stories. This week, we're looking at Storm Ingrid, and I've reclassified Storm Ingrid as Storm Hagrid. It looks like, although it looks as though Natasha is sat there in the Algarvian sun, it looks like there is some extreme weather coming in, and I've got thunder and lightning here on the Silver Coast that you can see behind me. The presidential storm of the moment, which is blown over until February the 8th, when we'll get the runoff, which doesn't sound very nice, does it? The presidential runoff will be happening, and a vote between Senor Seguro and Ventura. And will Trump storm the Azores? If you read certain, it's so difficult knowing what's true and false in the news. If you read certain reports or posts, you may have seen that there was an invitation, I think, from Portugal to President Trump to take an interest in the Azores, which everyone else has been keeping quiet about, right, Natasha?
Exactly. I mean, people were always saying that's the next thing. And of course, that would be the next thing. And it maybe will be the next thing. Because remember, he's juggling with so many balls at the moment. He can't even remember, what he's meant to be doing, or indeed whether Greenland is Iceland or, so maybe the Azores will come into it. We don't know. But
he's got a lot of balls. Yes,
a lot of balls in the air,
maybe one of them will be the Azores. We'll come back to that.
Maybe.
Let's start with our Storm Ingrid here. We seem to have a storm of the week. You must have thought that, reporting on the weather here. What's this week's storm? It's Ingrid this weekend, but is this normal, Natasha?
Well, the thing is that everybody keeps complaining about all this rain. But, in the old days, we used to get constant rain from December was often beautiful, but we used to get lots of rain in November. But we used to get, I remember once I think it was about 89, there was like 9 solid weeks of driving rain.
Right.
And that was in the Algarve, so God knows what it was like elsewhere. And I remember in those days, I was really lucky in those days because my daughter's father was very, very rich. And so I was driving around in a massive Land Rover. And I used to have to go and collect all my friends because they were living, in down dirt tracks that had become rivers. They couldn't get out. And I had this fantastic Land Rover that went whoosh through everything, collected everybody, took them shopping.
You were the savior. Which year was that?
That was in 89.
But so if this isn't, that happens on occasion, presumably. But this isn't on normal. Portuguese people say to me, it's called winter for a reason. Of course, it's cold and wet. It's winter. But it does seem a little bit extreme to me.
It's honestly, it's not. But what it is if we think, instead of thinking about the climate catastrophe, if we think about the climate cycles, and then you talk to somebody who's bent over his potatoes, he'll say, "Well, it's always like this." I was actually talking to somebody who was bent over his potatoes, and he said, we used to have 10 years of
Rain.
And then 10 years where it didn't rain so much. But now
I see the big cycles. So we're in the rain cycle at the moment.
I think we just entered the rain cycle last year.
Okay, I think it was 2 years ago. But okay, just 7 more years then. Just 7 more years to go, and then it'll be. What happens in the other cycle? It's just a year of sunshine. Where the 300
no,
days
we don't get sunshine, but we get those dribbly years where we get a bit of rain and then we don't, and then everybody complains, and then everybody runs around saying, "How are we going to cope?"
Yes.
And the real problem is that in the old days, we didn't have so many people pulling on all the resources. And of course, down in the Algarve, the other big problem is that it's not just this government, it's the government before as well. They're all giving these monocultures, carte blanche to sink their boreholes and tally-ho with their things. And that is what is ruining the whole balance.
Okay. And then we see these Algarvian droughts, of course. And
then the Algarvian drought is really, really bad.
Yes.
Because all the aquifers, and this is the reason why this rain is so fantastic and why we shouldn't be complaining, because there are obviously lots of people that are, is that the dams might be full and some of them are actually letting water out, but the aquifers aren't. Yeah. And the aquifers are the most important thing, because we're maybe not taking from the aquifers, but all these blinking monocultures are.
Yes. Okay, so hang on in there. It's not abnormal. It may be extreme, but the Portuguese are used to cold and rain. That's not the image we have around the world, but it happens, and perhaps it's the shadow side of these 300 days of sunshine, which people, and understandably, are questioning more and more. But we know, don't we? And maybe that's why the British love Portugal so much, because you do get a chance to complain about the weather, even more so than the British weather, perhaps, which is quite predictable. It's always bad. We should hang on in there.
What they do say, Carl, is that when you have a really wet winter or a bad winter, I don't think this has been a bad winter, because we haven't had the frosts that we used to have. The really cold. I mean, I remember walking the dogs that I couldn't even feel my fingers, and I can feel my fingers all the time now. But when we have a very severe winter, we then can have a very, very hot summer. So
here's to that.
Everybody could be complaining about that.
Don't worry. I will be complaining that it's too hot as soon as it's too hot. Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't take much, I have to say. Okay. And of course, we will have the typical sort of cultural Portuguese thing, which is just to completely forget. It's an amnesia, isn't it? It was never cold or wet. It's just sunny. We're in summer now. Let's not talk about it anymore.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Okay, so that's the weather dealt with. Two British people talking about the weather on the Resident podcast. Let's move on to possibly a different storm and a serious matter of the presidential election, which took place last Sunday, causing a runoff, I think it's described as, on February, which just sounds really bad, doesn't it?
Sounds awful, doesn't it?
Political slurry. Yes, exactly. So February the 8th will be the final competition to decide whether we will have a Seguro or Ventura in the presidential position. What did you make of it all from last Sunday?
Well, I mean, I was actually very disappointed in one respect, because I thought, God, we're going to have a great Sunday evening, getting the results coming in and everything else. But no, not at all. Sunday evening basically started with the news of a poll by various people, ISTC, it's the like the Lisbon Business School or something, and various other marketing companies. And the poll basically said it's going to be between Seguro and Ventura. And it was.
Yes.
Obviously, although the Prime Minister, very po-faced, because obviously very po-faced, I mean, no joy there at all. He said, the PSD space has not been represented and blah, blah, blah. And so we won't be giving any indications as to which way we'd like people to vote, which again was so ridiculous, so childish, because obviously if you've got a candidate that people say is anti-democratic and Trumpian and divisive and everything else, you would vote against him, which of course is what now is happening. All the other parties that who didn't get their chap or their in the case of Lottishker, their woman through, are all saying we're going to vote for Seguro. So it's almost a given that he will be the next president.
Okay, and I've seen other commentary that suggests that Ventura will lose, but in a way he wins, because politically there's some political capital for sure, isn't there, from the campaign and the constant attention grabbing or headline grabbing potential of running for the presidency in the first place.
Exactly, but you see, there is this other way of looking at it, which of course nobody will do, which is sad. But if you were really clever, you would make sure that Ventura was president, because it's a 5-year term, because that would completely obliterate the Chega party. It would never recover.
Yes.
Never.
What, to kind of put him in it? That would be a smart move. Yes.
Yeah, you put him in a box. He couldn't do anything really, because he'd say, I want to change the constitution. I want to do this. I want to do that. But the government would be constantly pushing against it. And actually, the president has powers, but they're very limited. You can veto a law. It goes back to Parliament. But then when it comes back to the president, he's duty bound to accept it, whether they've changed anything or not.
Very interesting. It would be the strangest scenario, wouldn't it? I mean, I think it is unlikely to happen. But then again, I mean, no one should say that anymore. Oh, no. That will never happen. We can't say that will never happen. I've noticed that saying that is almost a kiss of death with certain situations. So, especially when it's, these binary votes, is it one or the other, yes or no? Is it going to lead to acrimony and resentment one way or the other, it would seem. But in a political analysis, it's been good for Ventura whether he wins or loses. You suspect he won't win, but a masterstroke would be to stick him in that position.
It would be an absolute masterstroke. It would be a really forward-looking, clever sort of chess move. As it is, we're not used to that kind of behavior in Portugal, so there won't be any forward-looking chess moves. We will get this very, I think you could say, bland man.
Well, could you say that? His name suggests his name is secure and safe, isn't it? Seguro.
Yeah, he's a safe pair of hands. He won't do anything untoward. There'll be no embarrassment, no faux pas, no ridiculous statements. But also there'll be no sparkle and nothing brilliant in any way at all.
Which you could say also is a good thing in and around politics. We could do with a little bit of calma and tranquilo, couldn't we?
Well, calma, yes, but bland, no. Bland is never a good thing.
No true beige. No beige here. Thank you very much. We're not living in a beige world anymore, are we? We are living in a very dynamic and vibrant world. And that's our final news pick is about the Azores. We'll talk more about that. But before we leave the presidential election, so the second part, the runoff, will be on October the 8th. I guess a Sunday.
February the 8th. Sunday, February
I keep saying October for some reason. I don't know why that is. February the 8th, of course, next month. We can't possibly, that would be unbearable, wouldn't it? Have to wait until October. I think I'm confusing Oito with October. So February the 8th there in my mind, as it tries to make sense of the language. Will that be a Sunday again? And
it'll always be a Sunday, and everybody will always, be shuffling around outside the various little polling stations, and it'll be an absolute given that Seguro walks in. Okay,
well, I look forward to speaking to you on the Friday after that to see if that prediction comes true. What did you think? What did you make of the turnout? It was more than 50%, but not much.
Yeah, because normally you've got massive abstention, and this time I think it was only around 40-something%, which is not bad.
Now, why is that? I mean, are people animated by what's going on?
Nobody was animated about this presidential campaign, funnily enough.
So why did they turn out in this?
Well, they turned out. I suppose everybody turned out because it would be silly to not turn out and to have suddenly wake up and find you have got maybe a president, a massively left-wing president or something like that. I mean, so people do stand up for democracy. They take it very seriously in some quarters, but not seriously enough.
Yes, I did see an observation about that. Why only 50 years after a dictatorship would only half of the population turn out to vote? What do you make of that comment?
Yeah, exactly. I think, well, I make of that comment that democracy isn't working, is it? It's not working.
Interesting.
It's not making things any better. But obviously, it has to be better than autocracy. So I
As
think
in,
that's why we get
terms of
half and half.
representation. Yes, okay. As in terms of representation of people,
Exactly.
and that,
People think,
yes,
well, this is better. It's better than, it's not good, but it's better than, North Korea.
it's a
So
global tone, isn't it, of politics, least worst.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
All right. Before we move on to the Azores, then, because I posted up what I thought was a funny meme about let's keep it
I know.
quiet. Let's not give Donald Trump ideas about the Azores and their strategic importance. Any more to say then on the presidential election, or should we leave that for the people to decide on February the 8th?
Yeah, I haven't got much to say about it. I didn't have anything to say, but I didn't really have much to say about it to start with. But I think that no, but no, but what was sweet was a friend of mine who was voting for Coutry, even though he's a right, he's more centre right. He said, "Oh, I'm just going to put in a nulu vote, an empty
Spoiled
vote."
paper. Oh, an
And
empty one. Right.
I
Okay.
said, why? Why don't you, you got, and he was the one that said, no, because I don't really want a socialist in Belém, the Belém being the presidential palace.
Yeah.
And obviously I don't want Ventura, so I'll just put in a Nulu vote. So, I mean, some people take their voting very seriously, even though they're going to be putting in a useless paper.
It's interesting, isn't it? Very
Yeah,
interesting. We shall see
really
what happens.
interesting.
Yep,
Yeah.
come February the 8th on that. And yes, that is a very nice perk of the job, isn't it? The Belém Palace, where you get to stay as the president, only open to Portuguese nationals. I think you might be able to become the prime minister if you become a citizen, but I think you have to be born a Portuguese to become the president of the country. Which
Maybe you do. Yeah, I don't think
we
they
might
could.
be corrected.
Yeah, because I don't think it could be suddenly somebody who's just bought their nationality like everybody is doing these days.
Oh, I don't know whether to pick up on that comment or just let it go past.
Well, no, because one of the things that was good, because we're always saying, fairly negative things about the government. But one thing that I did see this week, which was quite hopeful, is that one particular court in Lisbon, where there's no runoff at all. They're absolutely, constipated with cases from furious immigrants furious immigrants that are getting nowhere with their nationality demands. They are drafting in 50 more judges or magistrates or thing in order to try and clear this massive constipated backlog of hundreds of thousands of furious people who want their nationality.
I heard last night that the president of that association, possibly the registry, said there were 500,000 outstanding cases to deal with, and one of the workers, frontline workers or representing the frontline workers, said actually it's not 500,000. And so I'm thinking, okay, it's not 500,000, it's got to be less. No, the frontline worker says we're looking at 700,000 unresolved cases to get through.
Well, I think they bandy about everything as long as it's got 3 noughts at the end.
Yeah, 6 figures.
As long as it's in the 100,000s, they bandy about numbers all the time. The biggest problem, of course, is if you did clear this backlog and everybody got what they wanted, which is often their families to come over as well, then suddenly a country that is not coping with 11 million, I think we've got now. I can't remember at the last, because now we've got so many more foreigners, that it would suddenly be swelled by another 1.5 million.
Yeah.
So that would be a disaster as well.
But that's not the reason. I don't think that's the tactic, is it? Why things are slow is to stop people coming to the country. I wouldn't have thought. Population is 10.75 million, and we're looking at whichever figures you can find between 10 and 15% foreigners, newcomers.
Right, but you see, a lot of these foreigners are waiting to be able to bring over their families. And then that would cause absolute mayhem. If you think that they're already saying that one of the reasons for the disasters in the health service is because we got too many people, we don't really actually need any more, unless they're all really, really healthy and never have a sniffle. Because, of course, everybody rushes to hospital with a sniffle.
Yes, I guess you can't really put that on immigration applications. Promise never to be ill.
No, you can't. What's your immune system like?
And finally, then,
Yeah.
and your theory about the Prime Minister not having a sense of humour and taking things very literally, I think the phrase you used last time was a little Aspergy, would appear to have has some weight to it this week. We'll come back to that story specifically, but the idea has been floated, and people don't like to say it out too loud because just in case Donald Trump and his team are listening. But, we've seen Venezuela, we've seen the president being kidnapped, we've seen all of this talk about Greenland. And so Portuguese people are thinking to themselves, the Azores, possibly of equal strategic importance in the Atlantic as somewhere like Greenland or a South American base for American activities, although they've got more than a few of those, I suspect. Yet let's not say it too loud. It is taking it seriously. The Azores is incredibly a strategic military advantage, isn't it, to any country who owns it? Currently, Portugal.
Exactly. But it's not just that, actually, which is more chilling if we think about it. The Azores has got all around it, because it's volcanic, it's got the most incredibly rich under the seabed minerals and
Oh, yes. He likes those, doesn't he?
I don't really know enough about it. And so that's one of the reasons why Portugal signed this agreement, or anyway, for 50 years, we're not going to do deep sea mining. The thing is that around the Azores, if we did do deep sea mining, I mean, it would be catastrophic for the marine environment and everything around, the ecosystem or whatever, however one puts it. It would be catastrophic, but it would be very lucrative. And of course, that is the one thing Trump has said: deep sea mining, let's go for it,
Well, he's not one to say, he's not one to say, oh, let's respect the environment, shall we, and not do that for another 50 years. Quite the opposite.
Absolutely not. Couldn't give a monkeys about the environment. So in that respect, if he did, I mean, he's got so many things to think about right now. Let's just hope he doesn't even know where the Azores are. But the fact is, they are, yes, of course they're strategic, because I think, like I said in the little note to you the other day, the thing about the Azores is that, yes, of course, all the American planes, when they're, dropping things on Iran or whatever, they can all refuel in the air. But the pilots that are flying them, they do need somewhere to go to the lavatory and, just generally have a sleep or whatever.
The Azores are like the services of aviation.
I think it's a sort of place where also, you tighten up nuts that have come loose, when they were bombing people. I don't know, but it is, they have got, on Terceira Island, they have got a base, and they've had it for decades.
Yes.
And it is very, very important, because it's like a little lily pad in the middle of the Atlantic.
Yeah, and some people would say, well, don't be so naive. They're there already. Anybody.
Well, they're there already, but they're really important to that island, because they employ so many people.
Yes.
And there was a point when I think it was Obama. I think it was Obama. Even there was a point, I think, when Trump was thinking about it in his first term, when they were thinking of pulling out of the Azores. Mm-hmm. And that would have caused incredible trouble. So, in many respects, because a lot of the people from the Azores anyway emigrate to America, I don't think there'd be huge outrage if America said, listen, we've got to have the Azores, because they'd say, great, it'll be American citizens straight away. We don't have to sneak in there.
It's so confusing. On the one hand, there are Portuguese Azoreans in the United States worrying about being deported and being helped to get back to the Azores. Exactly. And there are other Azoreans saying, bring it on. Let's bring more Americans here. Exactly. And if they all give us $1 million each, like they're suggesting for the Greenlanders, we'll take it.
Yeah, but do you remember somebody else said, I think it was the Danish prime minister, he said, but the thing about being given $1 million is that the Americans wouldn't give you free healthcare. And $1 million, when you need health care,
lose it. You'd soon be paying it back to BlackRock. Wow, okay. No, so there was another message circulating, and the Prime Minister didn't take very kindly to it. What's behind this?
Not at all. Well, I don't, and hang on, I've got it somewhere on my computer because I can't remember what it was. Oh, look, here we go. It's all this sort of fawning language. Supreme leader and great architect of our modern times, I'm writing to you, still energized by the sheer magnitude of your recent achievements. And it goes on and on and on. To that end, we're willing to discuss a vision that would secure American sovereign access to our Azores Islands. Well, I mean, obviously, suppose it's a bit of a joke because America pretty much has the access it needs. I mean, that's a point, it even sneaked some planes into the Azores that were going to Israel during the time that Israel was bombing the hell out of Gaza. And Spain had said to them, no, you're not allowed, you're not coming anywhere near us. And of course, we let them use the Azores. So we basically bent over backwards with the Azores anyway.
Yes. Well, and it was a parody message. Let's point that out.
It was a parody message by a man, I think he was called, what's he called? Volkswagen or something? I can't remember his name.
Yes,
anyway,
right. I'm not familiar with this character, but
Not am I.
Volkswagen.
I never. Hang on, I can't remember. I think he was called Volkswagen.
Yeah, you are. You're correct. You're correct. That's right. And it was a parody thing that was circulating on X. But the Prime Minister, having seen this, wanted to distance himself immediately from the idea that he would have sent such a fawning message.
Well, I think it wasn't just circulating on X. I think it was circulating everywhere. So it would have been on Instagram, on all the other things. I never look at any of them really. But anyway, so he was, in his inimitable way, with this sort of sense of humor that,
or lack of,
what makes him laugh, I really don't. But he didn't find it funny at all. And then one of his henchmen said at a press conference yesterday, I didn't see the press conference, but I just read something that it was a statement that it damaged the Prime Minister's good name.
Yes.
And also
besmirched the global reputation. Yes.
Of the country. I mean, international standing. What's it all about? We're taking ourselves terribly seriously.
There is a tendency to do that in these times. Good to see Rui here, who suggests that the Azores is the first step to Donald taking over. I'm next, reinstating Seth, but with bigger guns.
But
that is a joke.
The thing is, I understand that, but we don't want ice on the streets. I have seen some horrible things of what's been going on in America. That is terrifying. So Seth would have to be with maybe just pea shooters. I don't want them with big guns if they came back.
Let's talk about it over a coffee, the Portuguese way. I mean, in all seriousness, that's horrific, isn't it? And we do not want to see something like that.
So scary.
Although, when we've seen images of people being, hands up, spread them in parts of Lisbon, with the immigration police.
Well, that was just hands up and spread them. That wasn't, into the back of the van, kicking the shins and a terrible time trying to get out of custody.
Yes,
that was just a few moments with your hands on a wall because there were so many people. I suppose they thought that's the way they were going to control them.
Yes, well, we don't want to see that sort of thing in Portugal. Let's hope we can find a typically Portuguese, fair and decent way of sorting these. Let's face it, world problems. And these are the great challenges of globalization coming to your doorstep. Regarding the Azores, says Rui, when the U.S. admin was in shutdown, funds stopped flowing. U.S. salaries didn't get paid, and the Azores nearly froze.
He's right.
That's
so
interesting.
Right.
Yeah, thank you for
terrible.
that. Yes,
there was all sorts of diplomatic stuff behind the scenes because the whole island was just shutting down. Nobody could pay anything.
Yep. Representing Wales and the UK, bon dia from Welsh Jackie. We're loving this. Great to see your comments. This is the first time we've done the news review live, and we're pretty much up to our half hour.
Maybe we should do it like that all the time.
I really enjoyed the little bit of interaction we've had, and perhaps there will be more if we do this. Are you happy to do this live on a regular basis?
Yeah, Natasha? I don't mind at all.
Okay, and
I don't want to make a hash of it, but
no, it's been great this morning.
Rui says we need a more moderate version of ice in PT. Yeah, you're absolutely right. We do, but how do you get more moderate than ice? I mean, that's a very scary.
Well, they've set the bar high in terms of aggression and violence. It should be fairly straightforward. And of course, the police forces.
But still, with guns.
Well, the police forces are armed here in Portugal. In case anyone wondered about that, if you're watching from elsewhere. Yes, they do. That's true. They do
shoot
open
because
fire.
Then they have these disasters where they shoot, and some awful person is carrying a child in the back of the car. That is what happened, and the child got killed.
Yikes! Horrific.
And it wasn't,
horrific.
meant to happen. So
No,
these guns,
of course not. Only just seen that you're live. Would love to see a regular show. So we've got 1 vote at least. We'll take it. We'll take that. We'll take that. And then just finally, just to give you a look at the virtual homepage at the moment. It's in print, comes out every Thursday, The Resident, and you'll see Natasha's writing in there. Shout out
And
to all
lots of
the
other
team at The
people.
Resident. Yes, of course.
Lots
Shout
of
out to
other
the whole
people.
team. Yeah, we've got Michael there, Inyesh, of course, writing, and an amazing team behind the scenes of The Resident. Bruce working hard at the moment with the American tour as well, representing Portugal across the Atlantic and encouraging people to come and take a look. So check out our fairs, upcoming fairs for Open Media as well. And if you want to know more about moving to Portugal, that's a great way to do it. For the weekend, what would you suggest people take a look at from our front page here? Maybe an and finally sort of story, something a little bit more lighthearted, Natasha. Is there anything like that in the news at the moment?
Anything light-hearted? I'm sure there is. I never do anything light-hearted.
Oh, okay. I'm the wrong person to ask.
Yeah, you really are the wrong person to ask. I'm sure there's some good things. I mean, like the other day, somebody asked me there was a film festival and things, what that was like. I said, I haven't got a clue, I just don't know.
Hard news.
It's not my
Hard
kind of
news,
thing.
Natasha.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, have a great weekend. Bon fin de semana to you.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye for now. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.